Please welcome the incredible Amber Spears.
I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much, Renee. I'm pumped.
You know what's funny, guys? It's taken us 42 minutes to press record. And why? Because we've been hanging out like we're besties and we're catching up over coffee, but actually we're catching up over Zevias. Surprise, surprise.
I didn't know I had a fellow Zevia queen
here. Oh yeah, our house is stocked with this stuff. But what we were connecting on is all things relationship to growing our businesses, to hiring CEOs and some affiliate stuff, which of course, like I am bringing you onto this show because I want to help my audience. I didn't realize that I also needed this for myself. It's not something I considered, affiliate marketing.
So, yeah, most people don't. I mean, I think that's not their first instinct, right? So I'm fortunate that I came from brick and mortar. I was selling search engine optimization door to door at 20 years old and selling it to people that did not want my SEO package. They were like, I'm paying Google or I'm paying Dex and Yellow Pages. I'm sure you remember that, like $1,000 a year. And I was like, no, Google's the future. Like you have to just give me $75 a month, you know, like knocking on doors all summer in Arizona. Like, and so I've learned a lot doing that about a lot of different types of businesses, including service businesses. So I think that's usually not the first thing a service business jumps to, but I do think that if we dig into it a little bit, it would I think it'd open up your eyes to some really great possibilities, especially because you have such great relationships. So if you're someone who can really hold integrity of a relationship and, you know, people around you admire and respect you and want to help you, then I think it's a really perfect thing to add into your business.
Oh, totally. And there's a huge part of this too in the PR world that is really important, mostly for product-based businesses, but we'll get to that in a second. But affiliate's huge. I know there's a lot of people that I think it's Amy Porterfield. Like this was maybe a year and a bit ago where she said on a podcast that about 10% of her income was from affiliate marketing. And she's, I don't know how many, I think her last launch was like 6 million, could be more, right? Amazing. And that's just one launch. I don't know how often she does DCA. But 10% of her revenue is from affiliate. And this is just simply what she does is help promote other people's programs. But now it comes to you. What exactly is affiliate marketing and who can or should be doing it?
Okay. So affiliate marketing is also known as like partnership marketing. I've been seeing it called friendship marketing, joint venture marketing. It's all basically the same thing. I also think in a way, influencer marketing and ambassador marketing almost falls underneath that category as well, which is you have a brand or a thought leader or somebody that you know, like, and trust referring my services to their community or their audience, typically for a commission. So it's like having, you know, volunteer salespeople out there that are helping you build your authority, right? By lending their trust and credibility to you and your services and sending people to you. And then you pay them once those people turn into clients or customers. So there are nuances underneath that, right? A joint venture implies that the flow of clients and customers is going two ways and not just one. So that's one indicator, but you know, it's all basically the same thing. They're recommending you as their person of choice for this particular thing. And if you do it right, it can be incredibly, incredibly powerful for your business, particularly if you are 100% dependent on algorithms. So if you are, you know, growing your business in a huge way only on paid media, I always get a little worried for my clients because I've seen some of the cleanest accounts get banned permanently or for years off of Facebook and Google ads. You know, it's these algorithms don't have faces to them, right? So if you can add in something into your business that is a stable source of revenue that is dependent on your relationships and the quality of your work and the quality of your products, now you have something that if everything was taken from you, you know, like I think of an email list as something similar, right? So if I was a big influencer on YouTube, I would really start trying to push people to my newsletter because I know if I got deplatformed at any point in time that I would have that newsletter. And it's very similar to, you know, having affiliates or partners or friendlies or complementary people to you helping you build your business.
Yeah. So One of the things that kind of deterred me in affiliate, well, partially because I never even considered it as a channel I should pursue. But I just by nature, I was already doing it because I told all my friends, hey, if you send me a customer, you get 10% of either like the first month's retainer or of my VIP day. And there's no special technology for me because it's low volume. Mm-hmm. It's like, a handful of people a month maybe, or a quarter. But there are people that have lower ticket products and it's high volume. Right. So I'm thinking of like even like online tech, SaaS-based companies, they have affiliate programs. So regardless of the volume, what is like the tech behind affiliate marketing?
Yeah. So there's, I think the most important thing when it comes to affiliate marketing is the ability to track where your referrals are coming from, especially at scale, right? So that's actually something that we help clients do is like we have clients that have very successful businesses on paid media or offline, and they want to come and add this component into their business. And, it's been cool because, we started talking about this 12 years ago, and I feel like I was talking into the wilderness. Like I've spoken on stage at TNC 3 or 4 times. I've done, affiliate summit. I've done all these things, but I still felt like we weren't quite there yet as an industry. And over COVID, things started to explode, and like, that's great. Now Alex Hormozi's teaching it as part of his $100 million leads and, all this stuff. But I do think that at the end of the day, what's most important from a tracking perspective, and the reason why I mentioned everybody else is because this is like, it's soaring. Like we have Procter & Gamble reaching out to us, talk to us about affiliate marketing. Like this is something that it's growing and there's putting more and more ad spend behind this. Companies are not just on paid. So the most important thing when you're looking at the tracking of that and the tech of it is the ability to basically, whether it's on a spreadsheet, and you can do that because you have trust, right? Yeah. If you have trust with people, they trust that when they refer someone to you, that you are going to take care of them, number one. And number two, if they become clients, that you're going to pay them, right? So you can do it as simply as that. But if you want to scale it, then you need to add in a simple tracking system that can either connect to, your existing tech stack. So one of my favorite ones is Everflow. Great uptime, inexpensive service. They have great customer service here in the US. And you can connect that to your current tech stack. And why that's important is if I sent you, let's say I sent you 100 leads, and I was your affiliate, I could log into the back end of your Everflow system under like my account, and I'd be able to see, okay, I sent her 100 leads, this many have converted, here's what my payout's going to be, et cetera, right? So you have to add, if you want to play, at scale, you have to add that on because it's important for confidence. Now, most systems will have affiliate tracking, and I put that in quotations because it's usually not very good. It's usually not very clean. So the important part is, like ClickFunnels, it's not going to be very clean. You want something like, Infusionsoft. If you run on that, you do have the ability to add on and flip on basically the switch to do affiliate tracking, which is a bit cleaner. So, some platforms will have it built in. Entrepreneur's a great one. Entrepreneur has great affiliate tracking capabilities inside of that platform, but many of them do not. So you want to figure out, which one complements your tech stack and also which one works with your working style. For example, if you want to work with influencers, and typically a lot of these influencers want discount codes, right? So you got to be able to track discount codes. So if you add on a tracking software that does not do that, then you're going to be stuck, right, with the one that's going to have limited capabilities.
So the influencers want discount codes because that's part of their motivation to like sell your service essentially. Yeah.
They have most of them have largely trained their audience to, buy with discount codes from their recommendations. Mm-hmm. So they're giving for like a first time, right? Like, oh, if you want to try this great greens powder, use, code my name and it'll give you a 10% discount. So that's one way of tracking it. And then usually the company is also giving them that same percentage that they knocked off. So if they gave 10, they might get 10, right? So things are changing, I think, from the creator perspective, where creators are doing like a hybrid where they'll get like a flat fee. Like it used to be just flat fee, right, to promote it. And now they're doing like flat fees, kind of test it, and then like a hybrid model where they're also getting a percentage of sales as well.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. I'm going to start doing it just based on that. So the reason why I ask about tech is from the PR perspective is that if you have a physical product and you want to be in gift guides or you want to be in lists and roundup posts, a lot of the publications won't accept your product pitch unless you are a part of an affiliate program. And so looking at these big publications now that's a way that they're making revenue.
Yeah.
You still have to go through the motions of pitching to make sure your product's great, but it's an immediate no for some of these publications if you don't have that set up.
Yeah. Well, they understand the value of their audience.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just like a one-time flat fee like it used to be. They understand that, especially if it's evergreen, like you could be making money, forever off of this one,
Well, and that's the thing is some of these lists, they end up ranking and constantly ranking. So if you look at, and actually we just had a recording today with an SEO expert talking about all this stuff, is that these posts will rank for years. And what the publications do is they just go in and they'll update the content more than a few words. And that links might still be relevant to these products, because if the publication identifies that they're making money off these affiliate links, they're not going to change that. No. Also, they're going to keep updating that content so Google keeps ranking it.
Yep. They call them in our industry listicles.
Yeah, listicles.
Yeah, listicles. And then, they'll also do something where they might see that something is ranking well on that, but they don't like the commission that they're being paid, or maybe the company does not have great customer service or something. So they'll just swap out, that particular, recommended thing for the same thing, but from a different company, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So you want to keep your product up to date.
Yes.
So let's talk about, you call it partnership marketing, which is the same thing as affiliate. How can we, as we'll say service-based businesses, implement partnership marketing into our business without breaking the bank or feeling like we're selling out our customers and our clients?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. I think one of the cool things about partnership marketing, I prefer that term because I truly believe that all of my affiliates are my partners in my business. And there is something really nice about not feeling like I'm alone. That I have people that are invested in my success, not just because they make money from me, but because they refer me and they want me to do well. And I feel the same way about them. So partnership marketing is kind of like my favorite thing, but affiliate marketing is kind of what it's known for. Whether we, it's, September of 2023 on this current episode, and whether we want to say that we are going to have a soft landing, or we're at the beginning of a recession, or we're, at the middle of it or the end of it, I do believe that consumer sentiments are changing, right? There's rampant inflation with all the things happening right now, the current economic system, everything from the war in Ukraine to, the housing market, which is insane here in the US, a looming credit crisis with commercial real estate, all this stuff. So what we're seeing is consumer sentiment is changing a lot. And what's interesting is when there is a recession or when there is fear, this is actually the best time to implement an affiliate program, because typically you are not paying to acquire a customer until you've acquired it. Meaning, if I was running my credit card on Meta, it would just go. Whether I had eyeballs or opt-ins, doesn't matter. It'd still be running. My credit card would still be charging. The hope is that you're going to get a client from it. But that's not always the case, right? So when you're doing affiliate marketing or partnership marketing, typically you are having the partner promote you or refer you, recommend you. And then once you acquire the customer, you have them on your bank account. Now you're paying that person out. So it mitigates risk. So I just think that's a really important part, is like, if you already have a business that's working, you likely have almost all the pieces already. Like a really simple rule of thumb is like, how much are you paying Meta or, native ads or SEO? How much are you paying to acquire a customer? Then start there, right? Like if you're going to pay a faceless Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, if you're going to put money in his pocket, why would you not pay, your friends, your peers, your mentors, your heroes the same amount of money to acquire a customer? Especially because the conversion rate typically, when it's a warm referral or warm traffic, converts higher, and they tend to stay longer on as a client because there's that trust factor there. You've transferred the trust from one company, one thought leader to another, right? So not only are you usually not paying, and there are exceptions, which we can go into, not only are you usually not paying until you acquire a customer, so that's great for cash flow, but then the customer is going to close at a higher ratio and they're going to stay on with you much, much, much longer. Typically, there are exceptions to that, but I think that's something that most people don't realize about partnership marketing. So I would say that's the first thing is like, if you're having some success now, then you probably have most of the pieces that you need to do it. And then when it comes to, there's a big fear that I think a lot of people have, which is like, I don't want to like feel like I'm like, whoring myself out, like just for like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, I totally understand that. And you don't have to, right? So what I'd be looking at is, what are complementary services to yours that you can partner with? And I mentioned to you that I'd consider doing a Power of 8. This is something that JJ Virgin, who's one of my mentors, shared with me, and it has worked for me in my business really well. It's something that I've helped a lot of clients actually implement. So I don't know how many years ago, but it had to be probably 14, 15 years ago. Her and I believe it was Brendan Burchard and Mark Hyman, and I can't remember who else, but they're all really well known right now. This was before they were like huge superstars like they are now, multiple New York Times bestsellers, huge audiences. Like they were doing well, but they weren't like globally national, globally recognized leaders, right? They made a pact to each other, 8 of them, that they would support each other. So if one person got on a podcast, they would recommend the other 7. If one person was having a live event, the other 7 would come, they would promote it. And so that really helped them grow in quite a big way, and that concentrated power. But what worked, I think at the core of that was a few things. One is that they served a similar audience, right? So if you're somebody who is wanting to grow in your personal development, you're probably also wanting to grow in your finances. You're probably also wanting to heal your body. You're probably also wanting, right, all these other things. So if you can serve a similar avatar, that's where it really becomes super powerful. Or if it's super complementary. For example, let's say that you have a product company like a protein powder or a greens company, powder greens company. And everybody tells you, man, you should just add in high ticket coaching. Well, you're not a high ticket coach. And so, yes, it is true that many of your clients would probably need more support around their fat loss goals, right? And it would probably be great for them to work with some of the best coaches in the world. Well, we can go out and find some amazing high ticket coaches that will nurture your clients, call them upon purchase, not tell them anything for months, just build that relationship, and then eventually enroll them into a $5, $10, $12,000 program, and you'd get half of that. So now
who does this well is Amy Porterfield, Jenna Kutcher, Jasmine Star, and I think Marie Forleo.
Yeah, they all work really, really well together. And there's a reason for that. They serve a similar avatar.
Yeah.
And they're different enough where, someone's the queen of making online courses, right? The other person's the queen of social media, right? And that's how they're able to do all of that.
I love that. So I just jotted down, so Power of 8, meaning there's 8 people, but it doesn't have to be 8, right? It could be.
It doesn't have to be 8. No. It doesn't have to be 8. And if I was to structure it for you, I would look at people like, for example, you kind of all want to be at the same level or above, slightly above in terms of like revenue capacity, et cetera. Because if you had somebody like, I don't know, Amy Porterfield being like, everyone goes to Renee with that big of an audience, you could break your
I would break in half.
Break in half. Most of us would. I would break in half of my agency. You know what I mean? It's like you have to kind of think that through. That is the goal, right? That is the avatar. But I think like one is saying, I want to do this, going out with people that like and trust to keep their word. Because another big part of this is that they will keep their word. They will think of you. That's a big thing. It's like, if I'm not in the room with you, will you speak highly of me? Will you look for opportunities for me? Right? Will you bring them to me? Do I trust that I don't need to be in every room because you are in the room?
Oh, I love that.
Presenting me. That's different. And so, I would look at people like, for example, video editing companies, right? Like if you're doing PR, you need a good video editing company, right, to refer to. I would look for, video editing and videography, right? So who's the one going around filming all the influencers and the people that you want to work with? Mm-hmm. And then you tell them, hey, like, let's do some trades on each other's companies. Let me look at your stuff and you look at my stuff. Give me some pointers. Maybe we'll work together or not, but we'll refer each other, right? So maybe the next thing is like you partner with somebody like Alec Catoni with Copy Posse, who's a good friend of mine, right? She's Canadian. She's awesome. She's got a bunch of copywriters on staff. Your clients need that. So, now you're, regularly teaching each other's clients. You're doing all this. Now you're a pipeline and referral source. So like just kind of thinking through like, who are people that make sense to refer me to, and like, how can we set up those deals, and then making it so that, you're also opening the door. And I would gamify it. I mean, that's what I tell clients to do. And that's what we've done is like, we pick our 7, but not everyone stays the next year because you got to work for it. You know what I mean? It's like our expectation is we're getting together, on a monthly, quarterly basis and just tracking. Here's how many referrals we've sent. Here's how much it closed. What do we need to do better? Because there's going to be, things happening in the handoff. Something always breaks, right? Like just kind of figuring out how do we improve it, what's going on, mapping out your whole year with them too, having the ability to sit down, maybe in Q3 or Q4, depending on how far out you go, and just saying, hey, tell me when your live events are. So I don't book mine on top of yours. So I can send people to you. So I can become an affiliate for you. What are you doing? What are you launching next year? So I can be an evangelist for you, right? Like, how do we do this? I'm going to show up to your event. I'm going to talk about this. And like, I'm going to bring people with me. Like, if you could do that, that feels really, really good. And you earn that spot the next year, right? So it can be a very, very powerful thing. And it takes work. So it's not going to work for everyone, right? Some people are going to be like, nah, I'm good. I'm doing something else, right? But like, if you did that, it would really work. And so I hope like I can see the light bulb going off for you because you're like, like this is right.
I already have my list of people.
Yeah. And it feels good to grow with each other. Like it really does. There is so much alchemy in that.
Totally. And it's like, you got me thinking too. I had this conversation with Abby Oslin, who's an SEO expert before this. And we're talking about the old days, but really this was like a year and a half, 2 years ago, when you used to have promo pods in Instagram where you collected this like group of 8 to 10 people and they would just promote the crap out of each other until Instagram figured it out.
Yeah, but it still works. I mean, if you look at the people on Twitter that are growing, they all promote each other. Like Sweaty Startup always promotes Cody Sanchez, who always promotes Sahil Blooms, who always supports Sam Park, right? It's like you see them doing it there. YouTube creators do it. They all live in a house together. They're all creating content together. Like it works. It works.
And you're right about the point about being at the same level, right? Because like I can imagine the conversations Sam Parr and Cody Sanchez are having is not the same conversations I would have with people.
Yeah. And also that desire too. I mean, I think it's like you're dating, right? Like you're dating and then eventually I'd like to see you vertically integrated. I think that's the future of affiliate marketing. What I mean by that is like, I think the times of people seeing like an influencer post about a hair gummy one day and then the next day they're posting about something else. I think that has it's still happening, but way less over time. I think where the future of this is vertically integrating into their business, meaning like you are the PR person that they turn to. You are on their podcast, you are sponsoring their podcast, you are doing live streams with them, you are sponsoring their newsletter, you are a part of their autoresponder sequence after they have done their internal promotions. Like you are working with their team if they have sales teams, you're working with them with regularity, maybe like once or twice a year, and just saying, hey guys, thanks so much for the leads. We're getting good. Here's where we're at. You're motivating them. You're paying them a little bit. You're paying the company. Like you are all over that entire business because you are the person of choice. If they believe that you are the best in the world at PR, then you should be a big part of that business, right? And vice versa. So you have like your pillars, and that's like the other part of the equation, which is like, I'm not going to have another affiliate person here. I'm going to have, just you. You're the one I'm going to recommend for this particular thing. Maybe not, like for example, I work with premium brands pretty much. So premium brands and thought leaders. I'm not somebody who can get you usually like on a coupon code review site. I don't have PR connections to get on a listicle, which I know can be really powerful. We'd refer them to you, right? But like I can and have a huge Rolodex of thousands and thousands of thought leaders, influencers, and affiliates, traditional and creators that I have made a lot of money with and have helped for a long time. So I'm the person to call. If you want to hire an affiliate manager, I can do it. If you want to train up your team, I can do it. So that's my wheelhouse, right? And like there are people that will have different ones underneath that. But I do think that everyone could do that in their business if they had the time and they also, felt like they wanted to create that relationship, because it is a very relationship based thing. And that's why some people shy away. They're like, nah, it's complicated. I'd rather go on an algorithm. You know what I mean? I'd rather like punch in my money into Meta. And I totally agree with that. And I think everyone should, but when you're too reliant on one thing and the rug gets ripped out from under you, that's where I start to get concerned.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially when you're complementing one of these things with something else that goes deeper. And it got me thinking about the power of podcasting, because power of podcasting, there's so many reasons why this is important. Talk about being meta, because we're doing this on a podcast, but is that you now have immediate access to all of my listeners.
Right.
And they'll by default trust you because they trust who I vet coming onto the show. So that work has already been taken off the table for them. That barrier is already broken down. But also you get to hang out for 30 to 40 minutes. You don't do that with an ad.
No, you don't.
So now people hear you, they're like, oh crap, this woman knows what she's talking about. I've never even thought about affiliate, but now I'm going to reach out to her. And it might not happen tomorrow, but it could happen in a week or a month.
Yeah.
And this is about the power of building those relationships. So even affiliates might be like low volume stuff. It's like you build those relationships and you nurture each other. Same with almost every single person that comes as a guest on this show. Is most of the people, there's been maybe two, that now I'll reach out to, check in, or they'll reach out to me. They're like, hey, I'm launching a book. Can you help push this? I'm like, of course I can. Yeah. And I've introduced people within my show. Now they're doing collaborations and partnerships and their own affiliate stuff, because it's the power of the network.
Yes.
That's what it all comes down to every single time. And I say, by default, if I had to do only one thing in my business to promote myself, it would be networking. That's it. Nothing else. Physical online networking, because I think of the snowball effect of how I only really started back in PR on January 1st. So I've been doing this for almost 10 months now. And I am going to pay myself more this year than I did the most I ever paid myself running an over $1 million agency.
Wow.
So I figured it out. I wouldn't have been able to do that back in 2012 because I have my network now.
Yeah.
Because I've grown that foundation. And it's that one thing that can't go away unless you do something about your reputation. So don't ruin your reputation. It is so powerful.
It is. It's so potent, and it's also like when you have that network and let's say that you decide to change what you're doing, you still have that network of people that know, like, and trust you, that are going to support you in the next thing that you do, right? Like, you're not starting from scratch ever again. Like, you're going to have those people that have been on your podcast, that have been, former clients or friends or peers in the industry, and you're going to start with them. And I think that's it feels good to know that you have that in your back pocket.
Oh my gosh, all the time. And obviously it helps that my husband's super connected and talks a lot about me inside his programs.
Yes.
But really, there's been a handful of people that have come through. However, they wouldn't, sure, they would have trusted Dan, but they still wouldn't have purchased from me if I got on a sales call and they're like, maybe it's not a now thing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's the power in the network, which also would make it a lot easier for you to close those partnerships because know, like, and trust factor.
Exactly. Like, that's what we were talking at the beginning. It's like you are transferring your trust to me, right? And so if someone reaches out from this at whatever time that they do, it's because they've consumed this content. They like how I think. They think it's going to work for their business. They know you vetted me, right? And so that is so powerful. And I always say, affiliate marketing is a blend of voluntary, all commission salespeople mixed with PR, because you are transferring your trust with your audience. It's really like an audience swap is another really new term that's kind of coming up a lot in the industry, is the concept of swapping audiences when you do this. And I think that's a really smart way of framing it. And Scott Olfer was the first person I saw talking about that. And I was like, it's exactly what you're doing, right?
Yeah. It is the easiest way is to get in front of somebody else's audience that they've built up.
Yeah.
Affiliate would be the same thing as their power of podcasting. It would be the same thing for affiliates.
Yes.
Because you don't have to build that audience. Somebody else already did.
They already did. And yeah, and it's really, that's why I don't look at anybody as competitive to me. And I always encourage my clients, I'm like, I understand that we all have like a competitor, right? We all have somebody that we are gunning for and that we want to overtake. But I've been on the back end, I was sharing with you before, I've personally worked with over 2,500 companies. And before that, I was, on the back end of thousands more doing SEO and then being an affiliate manager and being a copywriter, being all these things. And I have seen with my own two eyes the result of so much data that shows that if someone is in pain or someone needs something, that they're going to buy every single type of product that they think is going to help them from every single type of person, right? And that you might have the best product in the world, but you may not be the one for them, right? You may not be the one that gets it for them. Like you think of if your back hurts, how many different lacrosse balls, back stretchers,
Right.
foam rollers, chiropractors, are you going to try? You're going to try them all until you find the one that works. And it's the same thing for a coach, right? Oh, did you hear that thunderstorm?
That was lightning or thunder?
Yeah.
That's intense. Wow.
Yeah. But it's the same thing for a coach. For example, I was working for a guy named Brad Howard. He's probably really well known in the direct response industry. And he was really the first one that opened my eyes to this, where, they had a 9-figure business. They're still doing around 9 figures a year. And I was in the back end of everything that they're doing. And I saw that they have weight loss products. That's their main thing. And then they're sending a bunch of weight loss products to their offer after they show the weight loss products to people. And he was like, look, I might not be the one. They bought my stuff and then they're still wanting to lose weight. So maybe they're going to go with this person because it's a woman and they feel more of an affinity to this person. Or maybe I have great, compounding formulas, but they might need this one other or two other ingredients in there. And so that might work better for them. So if they're in pain, they're just going to keep looking. And that's also who taught me hey, if they're interested in weight loss, they're going to also be looking for dating, right? They're going to want to change and improve their life. And it was sure enough, you look at the stats and it's the first best thing that they sold was another weight loss product from a competitor, right? And then the next thing was dating. And then the net, right? It was just that you're looking at it and you have to learn to look at your clients as a 360 person and not try to, hoard them and be my customer, it's yes, but they're also moms, that want to be the best mom they can be. They want to be the best wife they can be. They want to be in the best physical shape that they can be. So it's not just about this one part of their life. They are fully dimensional human beings. They might need spiritual teaching. There's just so many things, right? So just really kind of think through that and think about if you really care about your clients, then it's your responsibility to go out and find the best in world class in every one of those categories to recommend, because they're going to be searching for it anyways. So you might as well go out and do the research to find the best in class. It's going to take care of them, have the right results. And yes, of course, they'll get compensated for that. But you built a relationship, you found the best in class, you brought them to them, you can refer them wholeheartedly, feel good about it. Or you can just let them go out to the wilderness and find the person who's the best at marketing, but not necessarily the best products, the best customer service, et cetera. Right. So I feel very passionate about that because I just feel we forget so much about our clients. And also when we're oh, there's not enough cake for everyone, there is.
Yeah. Because wealth is abundant.
Totally.
We don't see it that way because people think the people that haven't been taught this think that there's only a finite amount of it, and that if you take money from somebody, it means somebody else isn't getting it. And wealth isn't money, right? Because you could be a wealthy person and live on the streets as long as whatever your definition of wealth is. And I forget what I was going to say about this too.
No, it's true. Even something as simple as I was, one of my assistants also was, I hired him over COVID. He was a wedding planner. And I just nailed it with him. He looked amazing, right? And I knew that our time would end at a certain point when weddings were going to come back in California. And I was listening to him one time, and he was telling somebody that wanted to hire him for a wedding, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're like totally slammed. Wish you the best of luck." And I was like, "Why did you not refer that person to somebody?" "Oh, well, I don't want to refer to like my competitors." I was like, "Yeah, but who's good? Who else besides you? I know you're the best, but who else is good? These people are looking for someone. Like, why would you not help them and set up a referral relationship with this other wedding planner?" Like, you know what I mean? Because now what are they going to do? They're going to go on Google. They're going to look around, right? And, they're not going to get their number one choice. So they're going to go with the next best ranked person who could be really good. But, you're also inside of the industry. So you have an eye for who's actually really, really good. And if you're too busy, then you should do them a favor and refer them, right? Like, and I just think that that's something that anyone could do.
Well, David Meltzer calls that completion. He doesn't believe in competition. He believes in completion, because somebody's coming for you to either work with you. And maybe something happens where it's like you're too busy, or maybe your costs are too high and don't ever lower your costs. And you can't just say no, because essentially you're slamming the door in their face saying, "No, too bad." But you could say, "However, you should go work with Amber. I feel like she has capacity and she's probably a really good fit for you in this moment."
Totally.
Because it's happened. Instead of a full no, you're probably going to get a kickback. You're going to get compensated for that referral.
Yeah. And they're going to trust his recommendation to me too, right? So they're going to be like, "Oh, sad, I can't work with David, but Amber's like a good choice, right? Or I can afford her, or whatever. And he endorses her, so she must be good, And I think I just think a lot of us, if we could just like kind of reframe how we look at it in our mind a little bit, I think it'll open up so many possibilities for us. And, I would say, I'm very fortunate to work with clients that, usually come to me, they're making maybe 6 figures a year with their affiliate program. And then we implement stuff that takes them 7 and 8. We have some clients who do 9 figures a year just with affiliate partners. And it can't be done, right? It can be done at scale. And if you have a good program, you have a good team, or you're good and you have a good process, then this could be something that, if it's like for you, like as an agency, and when I'm bringing back mine, it's gonna be the same thing. Like, the amount of people coming through the door to do calls is less, right? We're not going to have 10,000 a day. But we know that they're usually coming in from referrals from other clients or other people that we set up referral partnerships. So they are qualified and they're already warmed up because that person was like, "She's great." Right. So I hope that, I hope if you need help implementing your power of 8, let me know. I'm happy to look at it and support you. Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, this could be used beyond just affiliate stuff too. It's very powerful. It can be used in creating masterminds. It could be used in creating those promotion pods. Even helpful in PR. It's when I think of affiliate, and there's probably just like antiquated belief systems around it too, that it just seemed like scummy and whatnot. But it's not. It can be very beautiful. And I see the power of it too, outside of like the incredible revenue opportunities, but also in growing your influence.
Yes, exactly. And it has had a really bad name. Like, to be fair, it has had a very scummy, and that's why I said I felt like I was in the wilderness for a long time. Like, because, I'd be talking about it and I'm like, I'm not talking about forced continuity where, you're like, no one can unsubscribe from your bad skincare cream. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a premium brand working with a premium brand, or a thought leader working with a thought leader, and swapping audiences and like building that trust and being able to, to have that partner, that trusted partner in that category, because they're getting asked all the time. So why not do it and do it well, and like, you can build, it's your company. You can build whatever you want that makes you feel comfortable. But I will say that the law of reciprocity is very strong in this. And I know a lot of clients that are like, "Okay, Amber, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do my affiliate program, but here's the deal. And I already know what's coming. I don't want to promote other people. I only want them to promote me." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, cool. Well, here's the rules. You want to be the king and the queen of the hill, that's fine. But there's only ever one usually. And they have the highest proven and most converting offers. They pay the highest amount, right? They have all the influence and they get to set the terms. So unless you can do that, unless you're there yet, then I would encourage you to think about who and under what circumstances would you promote other people. You don't have to do it every day and do it out, but I will say that it's a very difficult thing as your affiliate manager or as a person consulting you, that you want everything one way. That law of reciprocity is needed in this type of environment. So if you're not willing to play nice, or you're not willing to invest the time, energy, and effort into making your offer convert well and have high payouts, and I'm talking industry standard best in class on every single one of those, that's when you get to dictate the terms. So if we're not there yet, then we have to think through things differently, because it's not going to work. You're going to come to me and be really frustrated, like, why isn't my affiliates program scaling? It's like, well, because you are not willing to play nice, right? And so if that eliminates right off the bat 80% of all the potential partners that will work with you. Because like, why would I send customers that I've worked hard for years, leads that I paid a lot of money to acquire, to send them to you, and then you're not going to do the same thing for me? And there are times where it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense for one person to promote the other. It just doesn't sometimes. That's rare though. It's very, very, very rare.
Yeah. I mean, because if you list your power of 8, it all makes sense. So we have this thing called the authority ladder, where it's an assessment that we use to make sure that you're ready to do PR based on how we approach it. Mm-hmm. And typically the first rung or rung and a half is where people are building out that the bottom tier, which is like branding, website, whatever the destination is. Right. Sometimes people haven't built out their programs yet. So it could be an author launching a book and they don't have their programs built out. So it's like, you don't make money off the book, you make money off the thing you're selling from the book. And
Can you say that one more time? Because I would love to let people this podcast. I get so many people reaching out to me about their books. I'm like, the only people who care about books are other authors. It's the only people who care about promoting your book. Okay. Like, unless there's something behind it that's going to make them money, right? Like, that's the only reason why they want to do it.
You don't make the money from the actual physical sale of the book. There was a day 100% that was the case.
Yeah.
That's not today. And why? Agreed. Because the barrier to entry to be an author is so low. I know this. I've self-published a book myself. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of work. I've also worked and promoted hybrid authors and authors that are working with one of the big 5s. And hardly any of them have made money off the book. Sure, there's advancements, but where the money is made is everything afterwards. So the book is essentially your resume, your credibility builder. What you're doing afterwards is where the money's made. Totally. And so in the authority ladder, it's like, is that foundation set? Is the first rung and the first step, are they set? Because I can't help you if you don't have a decent website. It doesn't have to be a perfect website. Something. Promoting a book. Some sort of social presence. Come on, let's get some content on there that makes sense and start growing that following. It is just so important. And I know, like, listening to this episode and then having just recorded the SEO episode, it's overwhelming to think, well, I have to do SEO and affiliate and PR. And it's overwhelming. So I'm just not going to do any of it. But what I loved about this conversation is you said it so easily. The power of 8, maybe it's 2 people. Maybe it's one other person.
Yeah.
It's just reach out to that person and be like, have this idea. We promote each other's stuff and let's do it for the next quarter or the next year.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And like, even if you're getting access to a tiny nugget of their audience and it causes you to get more customers, it's amazing. Or more followers, whatever it is. Okay. Any last minute tips or words about affiliate?
I would just say, I think we were talking about it, but like, I think it's so important to get out there in some way. I know so many entrepreneurs that are like in their office all the time by themselves, and they're not making it out to be belly to belly with people or to do this kind of conversation. I just think that is so critically important overall in business. And I know it can be daunting, right? Like, you can look at the price and be like, damn, that's like $3,000 for a ticket and then my flight, my hotel, and all that. But like, I have met so many people in elevators at these events that like changed my life. Yeah, I met you in an elevator, right, at Dan's event, and it's crazy. Like, you're in the energy of that, and you are your energy will carry through and it will open up doors for you. And I just think it's so important, even when you don't feel like it. Like I'm the smallest small fry. And when I started, and I still feel like the smallest small fry on earth, like I somehow got invited to this trip to Tanzania in November with the co-founder of Google and like all these other very high level people. And there's 140 of us, and we're like going to be the president of Tanzania. But like, I was like thrilled to do that because I was like, I'm the small fry in there, but like, and it's a lot of money, and it's going to be like, it's a huge investment and like a huge chunk of time right before my big annual event. But I said yes to it because I know the power of being in proximity with people. 100%. And I know how like deep you can go, like just being there with them. And like somebody that was a stranger to you 24 hours ago could be, you're like, you're like, we're going to be best friends. Right.
So but listen to this serendipitous moment. This just happened in Ojai last week. Is I have an influencer client, and we have a very specific, podcast roadshow that we're doing with her. And it's very limited because of our time that we have with her.
Right.
We have a specific podcast list. These are some pretty heavy hitters, of which I'm still figuring out how to get in front of. Who do I sit next to at the pool is the person who is the manager for one of my clients' best friends, because he's also an influencer. And I was like, whoa, so tell me about this space. Little did I know that anything was going to be business related, because I was really fascinated by the influencer space.
Right.
And at the end of it, I was telling him what I did, who I was working with, and vice versa. He turned to me, he goes, hey, Renee, because I told him like the shows that we want to get her on, all this stuff. He goes, if you ever need any intros or any help, please let me know.
Awesome.
He ends up being the guy to do it. The guy.
Wow.
Because he happens to know personally half the list. And I'm like, wow, had I not shown up, I did not want to go to the poolside bar that day. Had I not sat down in that chair, it would have never have happened.
Exactly.
Power of proximity.
Out there. Yeah, you did it, and like that has happened my entire career. And, it's now coming to the point where I've spent the last 15 years on the road constantly, and I'm like, I'm tired. But I'm being a lot more selective about what stages I speak on and what I do, because I built the network. Like I can call anyone at any time, they're going to answer. And like, I think that only is because I spent so much time on the road. Now you don't have to spend 15 years on the road. Like I have kids. I have kids, it's different. When you're a parent, I have a different perspective now. I do live events. I have a mastermind. East Fifth Avenue is my affiliate marketing company. And I always call that like my service to the industry, because I've been speaking about it on stage and like talking about doing it well and, all these things for like many, many years, over a decade. And I have an event company called 4 Rooms, and it's a mastermind company, and that's my art, because I get to be around, other peers and other people. And I was able to build that community because I was, on the road so much. And now I'm able to leverage both of my companies and just say, I'm going to be a lot more selective about what I'm doing. But also, I didn't realize what a huge sacrifice. I knew what a huge sacrifice it was for parents to leave their kids to come to events. But there is another part of me that's like, well, that's part of the game. You know what I mean? Like you have to leave them like at a certain point, like, to like build your business, like you have to. But now that I'm, with my partner and I'm like, we leave and we're gone for like 5 days and it feels like they grew an inch. And like all this stuff happened in their lives. And like, I'm just like, oh my God, like I always appreciated it. Right. But it's like, it's a certain type of knowledge. Like I know what a broken bone is, right? But I've never broken a bone. So I actually don't know what that feels like. You know what I mean? Like I can imagine that it's super painful, but that's never actually happened to me until very recently. And now I have a whole different appreciation for, mothers and parents that are coming and spending time with me. And it just like pushes me to elevate the experience and to curate the connections and to like, do more for them to make it so impactful for that time that they're away from their kids and their family. And it's just really interesting what happens as you mature and develop, as an entrepreneur. That's
Oh
one
my
of the
gosh.
big
Yeah.
lessons I got.
As a mother, I'm going to say sometimes those days away are amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
I love coming home. Okay. This has been amazing. So speaking of
Oh,
amazing, is I've never really gotten the real insight into affiliate. I will say the first employee I ever hired, her name is Chanel Mullins. This was back in the day, and she was huge in the affiliate space. And she worked with the people back then. She was young. She was 18 years old when she pitched herself to work for me.
wow. I love that.
Oh, I know. I love
that.
Chanel.
Oh, I
And
love
she's
that
gone
fundraiser.
on. Now she's up there at Shopify. And
I
there's no
love
doubt.
that. Good for her.
She's flying. Oh yeah. And
She's
she's a
networking me there. Worked her way there.
hard worker.
Yeah.
Hard worker in the sense, like, I don't mean long hours. Let's not put those two things together.
Yeah.
A hard worker, and she knows her priorities, and she gets the work done without distraction.
Oh, that's
That
huge.
to me is a hard worker.
That is a very hard worker. That focus, like the power of presence, like is just, it's not about the time.
She just got it. Like you talk about, my dad calls this thing called reading the play, right? It's like a quarterback isn't going to throw the ball to where the receiver is. He's going to throw the ball to where the receiver needs to go.
Yeah.
So the receiver's reading the play. The quarterback's reading the play. It's not like it's perfectly articulated. It's like, I think here.
Yeah.
Those are the best people. Okay, we could talk forever, but I have one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Oh man. It's a good question. I would say that anyone who knew me when I was young would say that I was already very wild. I went to 4 high schools in 4 years. I was the first person in my family to go to college on both sides. I lived in a group home. I had a lot of things happen to me in my early youth. And I think now for me, wild means life on my terms. And also just really unapologetically being myself. Like when I first started in this industry, I didn't want anyone to know that I was gay. I look very different. Like I was like, hated these terrible acrylic nails that I wore. And I look so different because I just felt really uncomfortable about being myself, especially in a very male dominated field. And a lot of heavy drinking and a lot of heavy partying. And that was the vibe, 15 years ago. And as I started getting more and more success, I just stopped hiding that. I was like, I don't care anymore. I have financial success now, and I have the knowledge. And if everything was taken from me, I'm still not going to take my brain and all my experience. And it's crazy being myself. And even talking, lately, I've been a little bit more vocal about my faith, which is a very jarring thing, I think, in this industry in particular, where it's a very new age thing. And I grew up with a dad who's a pastor. He was a vicious, violent, not a great person. And so I turned away from God for a long time. But, I think that's what I mean. Wild is living life on my terms and being able to say the things that I really think and to behave in the ways that I really feel and really need to behave. And that includes being open about my sexuality. It includes being open about my mental health struggles. It means being open about my faith. It means being open, about all the other things. And I think that is freedom. So that would be my definition.
That is total freedom. And I feel like if anyone's marketing to Gen Zs, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They don't need the filtered stuff. They want the transparency, the authenticity. That's the most important thing. And the Gen Z is going to become the biggest purchasing power in a few years. So understanding that is now it's kind of like this liberating time in our lives where we can speak more clearly about the things we're passionate about and who we are, because it gives permission to other people to do that too. And then all of a sudden these communities that already existed, we didn't know about, are coming out. And it's so beautiful. I love it. Okay. Amber, love you, sister.
Love you too.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.